All right, guys, today I'm hosting Bobby Stymbud, founding partner of Mean Pug Digital, the agency that's helping personal injury and transactional law firms scale through creative full stack marketing. Bobby's helped some of the biggest firms double in size and generated billions in case value. Bobby, thanks for coming on the show today.
Hey, thanks for having me, Chris.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. Kind of hitting the ground running here. What has been the biggest lever for you in scaling your agency?
That's a bit, I can give you like the circuitous answer there because everybody knows got to fill space on a podcast. So I'll give you the long answer and then I'll give you maybe the TLDR at the end of it. The long answer is like thought leadership, building really solid servicing into the work we do for our clients, getting word of mouth, and there's no real substitute for that type of growth. That being said, along the way, there have been a number of things we've tried, some with good value, some with maybe not so good value that I'm happy to walk through. We tried doing cold calling where we just got big lists of folks and ran calls, ran emails, did the whole LinkedIn connection thing. That was a disaster. That might have worked 10 years ago. It doesn't work today. You've got to create deep relationships, and account-based sales is really everything, at least in our industry, where the folks that we pitch to, there's a limited pool of them. The folks that actually have capital to invest in marketing is an even smaller pool, and they're getting pitched all the time by folks saying they can do X or Y. So all that's to say that you need to have relationships to grow sales pipelines, at least in our niche space. So that was one. Another thing we tried with varying degrees of success was paid digital campaigns. So we tried running extensive PPC. We've tried running paid LinkedIn, paid social. A lot of that depends on your audience lists. If you have strong lists to begin with, like folks who either have interacted with you on-site or off-site, or maybe purchased a clean list, whatever, that can be good. The problem is if you don't have a good audience list, you end up just wasting thousands of dollars with very limited qualified lead on the other side. Also, the quality of the inbound it's kind of like somewhere between a real inbound and an outbound. So those are a couple ones that we tried and didn't work. Now the ones that are excellent when you get them firing correctly, LinkedIn thought leadership. So taking the time to be consistent and high quality in your engagement on LinkedIn. And that doesn't just mean writing posts. It also means commenting on posts of the thought leaders in your space or the folks that have a lot of engagement. It means interacting with comments on your posts so that the algorithm rewards you with more interaction. So you should not thinking about it so myopically, like I just need to post all the time, but thinking about the quality over the quantity. And then another one is what you're doing here, podcast. Just being able to run outbound without selling, right? You're not selling me on outbound. You're getting the opportunity to form a relationship, have a deep conversation. And then if there is a problem that comes up over the course of these discovery calls, you've created a lead. So podcast is underutilized still, even though everyone has one. Very few people actually build into it like a sales approach.
Really interesting. So two things that you mentioned there. LinkedIn is working well for those out there that feel like they don't have the time to consistently post and, comment and engage. What would you say for those agency owners or just entrepreneurs in general, maybe even your clients?
Then don't do it. You can't half-ass that type of strategy. Either go all in or don't do it at all.
Got it.
And I don't think
And
it's not a matter of taking an hour every day and doing this. It's a matter of taking an hour every week, maybe less, to formulate your post for the week. And during the course of the week, maybe taking 10, 15 minutes a day or every other day to get some engagement.
got it. Got it. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I think anybody can carve out 10 to 15 minutes, but being disciplined and doing that consistently, I think that's kind of where the challenge lies. And it sometimes feels like a long game, right? You kind of
It's
have to be
absolutely a long game.
willing to do it long enough in order to start to see the fruit of your labor before you give up, right?
That's the difficulty. You don't know if you're 50% there or 190% there to having a successful channel.
Yeah, got it. So, Bobby, you also mentioned that you have a couple podcasts. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay. Talk to me, if you don't mind, about, the different podcasts and kind of, the intentions, the topic, and the purpose of each.
Yep. So we've got Hot Docket, which is one of the top 4 or 5 most visited, listened to, rated, whatever, legal marketing podcast in the space. There, we like to bring on really a wide range of folks, everyone from market leaders on the legal side. So the folks who are running, 9-figure personal injury firms. Yeah, 9-figure personal injury firms. Get confused with 9 and 10. All the way down to the folks who are starting their first firm and looking to build a practice. So we have a really wide range of experiences, topic, points that we could talk through that listeners tend to find interesting. The thing that I think we do a little bit differently there is we really invest in the production value. So we have like a whole section of our office that's cordoned off for this specifically. We take the time to produce each episode. We only release bi-weekly so that when we deliver collateral to the guests, they get this really high quality, full featured deck that they can put out on their social, put out on their blog, and it doesn't feel out of place. It feels like it matches the quality they already have, even surpasses it. So that's one. 2 is Devil's Advocate, which I don't even like to call it a podcast. It's not like any podcast you've probably seen. It's more like a game show. So for that, what we do is we bring on 2 lawyers. Typically, we like them to be frenemies. I would love to get real enemies on, but we haven't executed that yet. So they're frenemies usually. And we run through a range of topics, everything from kind of like lighthearted stuff like pineapple pizza is delicious to, or rather not pineapple, lighthearted stuff like entertainment and food, up to more, call it deeply embedded things like should immigration be tightly controlled, right? Things like that. Should prostitution be legal? That's been a fun. So we go through these topics and we have questions inside each one. So going back to pineapple pizza, a question might be, is pineapple pizza delicious? Or maybe as a statement, pineapple pizza is delicious. At the same time, the guests have to say yes or no, right? They're almost all yes or no. We only play a game when they disagree. So if they disagree, person A says yes, or Chris, you say yes, Bobby, I say no. Now, here's the twist of the game. We've got to argue on the side we don't believe in, right? So that's like the devil's advocate portion. So you said you like it. I said I don't like it. Now you got to argue why you hate it, and I got to argue why I love it.
I think
So
okay.
you get to, it's fun watching the lawyers kind of put on their courtroom face where they got to argue for a side, even though it's not necessarily the side they believe in. It's fun.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. I'm curious about the name of your agency, Mean Pug Digital. How does that, how do you come to that name?
Yeah, that's one of those questions that I really need to come up with like a fake backstory for, because the real one is very lame. So, how'd we come to it? Well, I have a pug, and my partner and I had started a couple of like quick ventures in the past, small things that didn't go anywhere. Anybody who's ever tried to start a company or business can relate to the struggle of how do I find a name that is memorable, available, and easy to like spell, whatever. It's got the kind of like elements that you're looking for. So we're thinking through this. We were on day 2 or 3 of trying to come up with a name, and it's like, we don't want to do this anymore. We want to just start working. So we liked MailChimp's branding. We started thinking, what can we use that's like animal, fun, other stuff, yada. Dog's a pug. Mean Pug was available. It's easy to spell, it's easy to say. So Mean Pug is where we landed. All that being said, I'm very happy that is where we landed, because in a space where branding and marketing can feel very stale, and a lot of the agencies can sometimes reflect that staleness, I think we come in as like a breath of fresh air, having a very creative, unique name.
Yeah, when I was checking out your website, it felt fresh. It felt fun. So I can see that for sure. What does Mean Pug Digital look like at its next level? What's that trajectory moving forward looking like for you guys?
Well, over time, really, our goal has always been we want to make law firms better at marketing, more efficient. And one of the core ways that we do that is bring together all these marketing departments internally so that firms don't need to take on the expense of a full-time social media person when, 9 times out of 10, firms don't need a full-time social media person. They need somebody who can execute 3 to 4 hours a week for them on social. The same goes for web design. The same goes for video production, email marketing, software development, all of these things. Firms don't need a full-time person. So our goal has always been, how can we connect the stack, bring everybody in-house so we can execute full-fledged marketing campaigns at the same level that $100 million firm can on behalf of our firms that have revenues of $100,000, right? So we're really just trying to level the playing field with our servicing.
Got it. Yeah. I mean, that's funny you said that. I was having a conversation recently with someone who was talking about where the agency world is headed, right? Inside of businesses and corporations. And it's like the reason that any business would hire an agency is because they can do that more efficiently or at a more affordable cost than it would be to hire somebody in-house full time. And it's like you guys are literally doing.
Right. Yeah. For us, you're getting a full marketing team for the price of typically less than one full-time marketing employee who would have one area of expertise. Yeah.
Insane value, insane value. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to client acquisition, so you mentioned LinkedIn, you mentioned the podcast, are those the two most reliable channels for you? Or is there something else that you found that, is a little golden ticket?
There's definitely no golden ticket. We have been on and off on organic, like our through SEO have fluctuated. That's the danger in relying on them as your only path for growth. We've had months where that's been the best by far channel for us. And then we've had months like where we've gotten one lead from organic, and it's very hard to know why the Google gods have frowned or smiled on us, but they just have. So that's I'm happy we invested in that channel early. Like we built an extreme, if you go to our website, you'll see our website's not like in most websites you've ever seen, especially not in the legal marketing side. Very unique design and implementation. Our content is pretty strong. We're redesigning all of it right now, so it should get even better. But like we took the time to do it. I'm happy we did. The other paths are what I mentioned. We're constantly at events. We sponsor events. We put up booths. We kind of do the whole thing because in our industry, it's a small pool of good buyers that we need to be in front of. And it's hard to even measure CPA in the traditional way you might because the value of a contract is very high.
How are you guys looking at client acquisition versus client retention? Where does the focus lie? And what is more important for you guys?
You've just asked the question that is the crux of agency work. Like there is no answer to that question. That's like a balancing act, teeter totter type of thing, because the bigger you get, the more people you have, the more variance in skill level, personality fit, also your client relationships change because you're not the face of every call anymore. And all the things come with that. Like there's training that needs to come into place. There's processes that need to take over where just like tribal knowledge left off. So you're always having to like go hard on sales, execute, take like a revenue to the next level, and then step backward and look at your servicing and make sure, are we doing a good job for the folks that we've just brought in? So there's always that like extroversion, introversion type of dynamic, I think, when it comes to sales service.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think it's something marketing, well, at least what I find with the most successful marketing agencies, they can retain clients for a good amount of time and they'll keep in there, and that provides this stability. So I think that kind of echoes what you said, but in order to grow, you have to acquire, and churn is inevitable. So you have to be at least making up for that.
That's right. And it's getting harder and harder to not like, you can't have mediocre servicing because the competition pool is growing. And not only is the competition pool growing for execution, it also changes the dynamics of how buyers buy. So we can't do 12-month lock-ins anymore. Everybody else is offering month to month. So if you're month to month, churn risk is higher. So you better up your servicing. And there's a lot of those dynamics, at least in our space, that have been going back and forth right now.
Yeah, for sure. I've heard that from quite a few different agencies that they've had to just figure out how to get somebody in the door that makes sense based off of terms, and then look at keeping them, retaining them. For you guys, Bob, because you've mentioned that you're not always the face of, on the face of the calls, how are you able to transition out of founder-led sales and start to free up some of that capacity?
Short answer to that is we haven't. Andrew and I are still primarily the ones on like discovery calls, demo calls. That's us. We've hired folks on the sales side internally to do some of the legwork to create leads and some top level volume. But I wouldn't say that we've escaped founder-led sales. I would say we're still in.
Got it. For other agency owners that are listening, I think this is something that a lot of agencies deal with, and it's, can somebody else sell my product, my service as good, if not better than me? And so, with you, and you said Andrew's your partner, right? With you guys, have you had that conversation, and what does that look like?
We've had the conversation and we pretty much aligned that there's no, outside of making sure that our service baseline is where it needs to be, there's no activity we can do that adds more value than being on those closing calls. So I actually think the problem is more often in the reverse, where people tend to want to abstract themselves away from these types of problems too early, not too late.
Mm.
Like it's something that they view as, I don't know if they think it's beneath them or they think like this is what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to delegate and get away from these problems. But what's that saying? Like not farmers, like sheep herders should smell like sheep,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So you should be close to your product and close to your customers and I kind of understand, have the pulse of your business.
Yeah, that makes sense. So speaking of, working on the product and taking care of fulfillment and retaining clients in this space where technology is moving so fast, AI is, coming and hitting every industry by storm. How do you see the future of the advertising industry as a whole being affected by technology and AI? And then how are you guys leveraging it currently to stay competitive?
There's a lot of ways that can go. So it will change the dynamic. Some subset of the market will be able to execute marketing using like AI agents. They're not going to have a need for kind of gatekeepers, which agencies are in many ways, knowledge gatekeepers, to stand in the way of them and marketing execution because they can just use an AI agent to guide them, right? Tell them when they should update their posts, give them ideas for topics, give them social media calendars, give them content calendars. All those things can be done by agents today. So there's going to be some set of the market that gets kind of cordoned off by those advancements. At the same time, it creates a whole new segment of the market, which is how do we use these tools to do better marketing, right, internally? Because the best firms are going to use AI to inform their strategy and then use humans to refine it and improve the suggestions you get, take whatever's output and put final touches on it, make sure it meets business objectives and it's not just muck, right? So kind of tying everything together is still humans. So as long as you are an agency that has that mindset, understands that you're no longer a gatekeeper and now you're more of like strategic counsel, as long as you have that mindset, I think your business grows. But if you think you're just going to like hide behind your walls and hope AI doesn't come for you, well, maybe not.
Yeah, good luck. Very cool. And then what do you say to your clients that are, you know, thinking that you guys are leveraging AI and not doing the actual work?
That's not what we do. So for us, design might use AI to do things like create a first draft of a logo, which they'll then refine and create different iterations off of, which might go back and forth with AI engine to like get ideas and concepts, but it's all going through their hands and they're putting human eyes on it. As a client, you're paying not to see 80 iterations of trash. You want to see a final iteration, which is close to what you're envisioning so that refinements can be made. That's what we're doing on design. On content, we use AI for very little because in legal, it's highly regulated. You can't say a
Mhm.
lot of things. So we can use AI to create outlines. We can use it to give us suggestions for meta descriptions and titles and things like that, real grunt work. But you can't use it to just write an article. It doesn't, it will hallucinate and get people in trouble. So I don't think it's as big a problem for us as folks in, say, like the e-com space where you can just do whatever you want.
The Wild West.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I was in ticket
Uh,
sales before. I was an engineer at a secondary ticket marketplace, think like StubHub, but not StubHub. And before I started at Morgan and Morgan. So I understand what happens on the e-com side.
and you were at Morgan for a good amount of time, right?
Yep. I was a director of engineering there for 3.5 years.
Interesting. So do you have a background in engineering? Is that
Software development. Software development.
software development?
Yeah. I was a computer science major in college.
Oh, cool. Computer science. I took one class. It was tough. It was tough.
It's not easy. I don't know. I mean, if you've used like Cursor AI though, or Copilot or anything like that now, you used to think that you were safe as a programmer. I don't know that people feel that way.
So I don't know if you've heard of this app called Lovable. So similar to Cursor, right? But basically, I just took an idea and I was like, I'm having this challenge with, some of the teams that I'm working with. How can we how can we solve it? So I chatted through it with ChatGPT, right, with AI. Then I took the kind of the core concept, put it into Lovable. I built a fully functioning app. I like binged this like back and forth coding for probably 10 hours over a weekend. I was just so fascinated because a world of opportunity opened up for me because like you, I mean, I don't have the software development engineering background like you. So that may be very easy, natural for you. For me, it's like I have this idea, but how do I actually, I need somebody like I would need a dev or somebody. And I was able to actually execute on it and get it functioning. I was mind blown.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It's insane. So cool. But also I went down this rabbit hole. I'm like, okay, is this like a rabbit hole that I want to go down? So I had to like kind of check myself in a second. But yeah,
That's pretty sick. It's called Lovable.
yeah, lovable, lovable.
All right, I'm
Definitely
gonna check
check it
it out.
out. Yeah, I can send you the link after. But I had fun. I had a lot of fun with it. And so it just opened up opportunity. I'm like, oh, okay, now I know there's these tools that are just gonna, I think, help so many marketers, entrepreneurs, business owners, consultants that are solving problems inside of companies, help them build tools to solve these little micro problems. That's kind of what I'm seeing, or with some of the circles that I'm in. So I digress.
No, I think it's accurate. The hard part about it is you still need guardrails. Let's say you're Walmart and you've got a data scientist there who wants to build an app to let them digest Walmart's data and give an analysis of inventory over the next 10 days. Of course, they probably already have this, but just as like a toy example. Okay, for somebody who has no background, how do you ensure that A, what they create and build functions the way it's supposed to and isn't just giving a gibberish result? B, doesn't do anything destructive to the system, like delete records or delete a database or something. And C is secure, right? So you still need either like some internal team to build these apps, which then goes back to maybe it's not so democratized. It's still kind of in the hands of a few, or an extremely strong set of like protocols that are somehow enforced when people are putting together their own apps. So there is, I think, still like a governance problem when creating, these distributed apps.
Yeah, to your point, 100%, because inside of the app, there's like 4 warnings that say, because I was like using Google sign on to access Google information on Google. So there's a warning, there's a database warning, there was a password there. So there's some warnings that I had no idea. I was like, I think it's okay for now. No one
Yeah.
else is using it.
Yeah. Send it.
Yeah, let's ship it. Bobby, I'm curious because I think, building businesses, there's also a whole second side that you have to develop outside of the business, and that's like yourself, right? So, what are some of the areas of life that you've had to master on this journey of entrepreneurship and scaling an agency?
I don't think it's for everybody. Like it is extremely stressful at times. It requires a lot of different hats kind of simultaneously. You've got to be an HR at some point. I mean, now we have internal HR, but at some point I had to be HR, I had to be a recruiter, I had to be operations, I had to be a developer, I had to be client facing, I had to be sales. So you've got to wear all these hats kind of at the same time and take them on and off. And I think like I came into it very diligent and willing to work hard. I don't know that was a change for me because I've had that for a long time. But I think for some people, they kind of think they get to be their own boss. They get to make their own hours. I can just skate by. It like doesn't work like that if you want to grow. So, it's not for everyone is probably like the biggest thing I would say there.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people see the success of an agency owner, but they not see the journey that and everything I had to go through to get there. And so it's like, oh yeah, I can just do that.
Right.
And there's so many new agencies that are popping up every day. You mentioned it earlier, like the competition, the barriers to entry are so low. So yeah, I think that's great advice. Is there anything exciting or anything that you're looking forward to in the next short period of time that would be important or you'd want the listeners to learn about it or hear from you all?
No, I mean, we're always coming out with new episodes for Hot Docket, always coming out with new episodes for Devil's Advocate. So you can find both those on our website, meandpug.com. You can also just go straight to YouTube, whatever's easier, or Spotify. But yeah, besides that, obviously, if you're a lawyer, we'd love to talk to you. I'm sure we could help. If not, just connect with us. See, we'd be happy to have conversations.
If you know a lawyer, yeah. I
Exactly.
think
Right.
everybody knows a lawyer.
If you're only could be so lucky.
Yeah. Bobby, thanks so much for coming on the show today. It's been a really fun conversation.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Chris. This was fun.